Tonight on The Buzz, the annual NAB Show opens on Monday. New announcements are already streaming from tech companies around the world. Tonight, we preview some of the new technology and trends that you can expect to find at this year's show. We start with Mike Horton, formerly the co-producer of the legendary Supermeets. He's now producing Faster Together. Tonight, he tells us what happened to the Supermeet and what this new event is about. Next, Ned Soltz, contributing editor for Red Shark News, shares his expectations on new camera and production technology that he expects to see at NAB starting Monday. Next, Philip Hodgetts, CEO of Lumberjack System, looks at the 4 trends he's expecting to dominate discussion at the show. And can you believe that he's expecting 8K video to make an impact? Next, Michael Kammes, Director of Business Development for Bebop Technology, describes what he expects to be making news next week at NAB. All this plus James DeRuvo with our weekly doddleNEWS update. The Buzz starts now.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative,
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
current,
uniting industry experts,
production,
filmmakers,
post-production,
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the annual NAB show opens in Las Vegas on Monday, though conference sessions start this Saturday. For the 11th year in a row, the Buzz is packing up its microphones and heading east to Las Vegas. But before we go, I wanted to chat with some of our regulars about what they expect to make news at the show. NAB is gigantic, exhausting, and overwhelming, but it is also my favorite toy store, filled with exciting new things to learn. Expensive toys, perhaps, but still fun. Tonight, we share a collective heads up on what to watch for. By the way, if you enjoy The Buzz, please give us a positive rating and review on the iTunes Store. We appreciate your support to help us grow our audience. And now it's time for our weekly doddleNEWS update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
Well, we're on the eve of NAB, Larry, and we have more news than we have time for. But here's a few stories I thought were noteworthy.
Okay.
First off, Adobe just put out their annual spring update with over 200 new features with updates to Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, Audition, and Character Animator. Highlights include faster performance for Premiere, but the big news is content-aware fill comes to Adobe After Effects, which basically means you can take automatically using Adobe Sensei's artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can automatically take anything out of the video image that you don't like, and Adobe Sensei will evaluate everything around it and input the copy pixels into it so it just looks like it just disappeared. That's going to be amazing. Plus, you can get faster mixing and audio decking with Audition and more flexible animation in Character Animator, which also now comes with a live video stream via Twitch.
Well, obviously you're excited, but what are your thoughts on the update?
Every single one of these 200 new features is a must for your post-production quiver, but the main one for me is the content-aware fill. Now users won't have to spend time and money to remove unwanted images through masking and rotoscoping or any of that. And they won't have to police their sets with military-grade protection to make sure something just doesn't wander into frame. You can just click a button and anything you don't like in the image can disappear. It's magical.
It's very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the actual demos. But you said you had lots of news. What's next?
Here's one that nobody saw coming. New Tech got bought by Norwegian broadcast company Viz RT. focusing on video over IP. New tech will now bring its consumer-grade switching brain trust to the Norwegian company to create a software-based switching and broadcast application for live video over the internet. The result will be basically you'll have a broadcast truck on your laptop where anyone can create the next great live event and share it online.
Like you, this one surprised me. What are your thoughts?
The biggest news of this is the acquisition itself because nobody saw it coming. But in reality, both companies have worked together for several years, and so it just made sense to get together to make this next step in video over IP. And it shows that both NewTek and VizRT don't just mean to be a part of that revolution, they mean to lead it.
And just a thought on video over IP. Philip Hodgetts is going to be talking about that a little bit later in tonight's show, because this has implications far beyond what VizRT and NewTek are doing. So we've got Adobe and VizRT as your first two stories. What's number 3?
Panasonic has done your basic housekeeping updates to the VariCam LT and their brand new S1 full-frame mirrorless camera. The VariCam LT now gets hybrid log gamma HDR support with BT 2020 color science, the ability to convert RAW to 4K in camera. It also gets zebra displays and improved bug fixes. Meanwhile, the S1 full-frame mirrorless camera, which hasn't really shipped yet, also gets an optional software update that will bring 10-bit 422 internal vlog recording for about, I'm guessing, about $99 because that's what it is for the GH5.
Well, it strikes me that Panasonic is continuing the trend of shifting to HDR. Is that true?
Yeah, everything is going HDR now, and camera companies, to their credit, are doing what they can to give even older platforms as much HDR recording and color science as they can. Even with a veteran camera platform like the VariCam LT, adding HDR to this camera is going to give it plenty of legs for the next couple of years, and that's a good thing, especially for documentarians.
Given all the change in camera technology these days, anything manufacturers can do to extend the life of existing gear is a good idea in my book. What other stories are you working on?
Other stories we're following include the Justice Department is warning the MPAA that changing their Oscar rules to freeze out Netflix could be an antitrust violation. There are 4 rules that you can follow to resurrect your dying YouTube channel. And did you know that you can make a gimbal stabilizer out of a dead hard drive? Next week, we'll also have stories from all over the showroom floor at NAB, summarizing them every afternoon on The Buzz at 5 p.m. And we'll have breaking news updates from our Twitter news feed at @doddleNEWS. So everybody out there, give us a follow.
Good point, James. James will be live on nabshowbuzz.com, nabshowbuzz.com every afternoon at 5 p.m. for a summary of that day's news at NAB. But, James, before we let you go, NAB opens Monday. What are you expecting?
First thing Monday morning is the Blackmagic press conference, and we always expect some exciting new announcements there. And this is actually the first time in a couple of years that I have absolutely no idea what they're going to be announcing. I don't even know what I want them to announce. It's going to be, an undiscovered country, which is going to be very exciting. And we'll also be cruising all over the halls. There's 3 different halls, 100,000 square feet or 1 million square feet of Explorer space. There's like 200 new exhibitors this year. I'll be putting about 30 miles on my feet. Everybody's going to be there. It's the biggest party. I like to call it Geek Stock for filmmakers. I will bring it all to you every day at 5 o'clock.
And for people that want more information, and James, where can we go on the web to find the stories that you and your team are covering?
All these stories and more can be found at doddleNEWS.com.
And James DeRuvo is the editor-in-chief of DoddleNEWS and joins us every week. I'll see you on Monday.
See you then.
Join the digital production buzz at the 2019 NAB Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. Starting Monday, April 8th, Larry Jordan and the Buzz team are taking their microphones on the road to cover the latest news and trends from the largest media show in the world. Every hour of every day, the Buzz is live on the trade show floor. creating 27 new shows in 4 days. More than 100 interviews with key industry leaders. The Buzz has webcast directly from NAB for 11 years, with legendary coverage that's heard in more than 195 countries around the world. If you're attending the show, visit us at booth SL10527 and say hello, or join us live every day of the show at nabshowbuzz.com. Join us as The Buzz covers NAB 2019 live at nabshowbuzz.com.
Mike Horton co-founded the Los Angeles Creative Pro User Group more than 20 years ago. He also co-founded the legendary Supermeets. And best of all, he's a longtime friend of the Buzz. Hello, Mike. Welcome back.
Hello, Larry. This is the first time in like 25 years I've been back on your show. So, what happened there?
Well, we just didn't love you anymore. That was it. It's just boring interviews all the time.
Or I just figured out I wasn't getting paid enough.
Listen, Mike, we love you so much. We're going to double your salary.
Thank you. All right, I'm back anytime you want.
I was going to say not long-time friend, but old friend, but, that raises way too many issues.
Yeah, we're old friends, Larry. We can share stories going back to the aught teens.
Yeah, of the last century, actually.
Yeah, exactly. The last century. That's right.
Mike, what happened to the Supermeet?
Well, it's a long, complicated story. One thing, I'm getting too old is to produce those things. There's a complicated answer to it, and hopefully I'll be able to tell the story one of these days. But it was getting way too expensive to produce, and it was getting a little bit too commercial for my taste. And I thought maybe it was time to hang it up, or at least change it. But by the time we thought of any kind of changes, it was just too late, and so we decided not to do it, at least this year. And then that's when LumaForge turned up and talked to me, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, which is the Faster Together stage event, which is sort of taking the place of the Supermeet, at least next Tuesday.
So tell me, what is Faster Together?
It's going to be Supermeet-like. If there's any way of describing this thing. It's essentially the kind of show that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. It is all about creatives. It is all about people getting up there and telling the stories about how they did what they did. And so you'll be inspired by all these incredibly talented presenters, and everyone from YouTube superstars to incredible colorists to working editors to producers and directors who are doing amazing films, and they're going to give their little take and show and tell on what they have done and how you can maybe learn from what they have did. So that's the kind of show that I've always wanted to do from top to bottom, and this show, top to bottom, is that kind of event.
Well, in the past, you've talked to the people that develop the tools, the Adobes of the world. It sounds like now you've shifted focus to the people who use the tools and how they use them. Is that true?
Boy, let me write that down. If I ever do another one of these interviews, I want to be able to say it that way. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Even though Adobe and other companies are helping to support and sponsor this event, it is not about their tools. It is about how to use their tools. It's exactly what it is. But it won't be so much. There's not going to be any what's new in the tools or any. It's the creative aspect of using all those wonderful tools that these people work so hard to give us.
What you've done is you've created essentially, as you said, a Supermeet Lite. Why the partnership with LumaForge?
LumaForge was the one that came up with this whole idea, and the reason that they did was they had a pool of money that they wanted to do something with, and it was either let's have a booth at NAB, and then when they found out how much that thing was going to cost, they felt that that's probably not the best place to put their money, their marketing money. So when they heard that there was going to be no super meet on a Tuesday night, that left a big void. What are people going to do on a Tuesday night? So Sam Messman called me up and we talked about this whole thing, and I said I would love to partner with you, but I don't want to do the same kind of shows that I've been doing for the last few years, even though, most of it was still a community event. I still had a great time and I still loved doing it. I just didn't want to do the commercial parts of it. And so he sold me. He says, "No, let's just put on a great show that people will want to see and want to come to, and it's still going to be all about community." And I said, "Well, all right, I'm in, and let's fill that Tuesday night void, and let's just put on a great show." And that's essentially what they did and what they're doing. I mean, the lineup is really excellent, and I can't wait to see these presentations. And I get to host the show, and so I get to if I really honestly wish I was in the front of the audience rather than the back and on stage, because I really want to see these presentations.
Give us some of the highlights. Who's going to be there, and most importantly, when does it start?
All right, starts on, first of all, it's Tuesday, April 9th, so you know that. It starts at 4:30. The doors open, so get in there early. And the food starts at 5 o'clock. And as you know, with past super meets, food runs out at about 5:15. So get there early if you actually want to eat. Anyway, we have a YouTube superstar, Jonathan Morrison, who's a tech reviewer for YouTube, and he has over 2.6 million subscribers. And why? That's kind of what we're going to find out. And Michael Cioni is going to come up, and he's going to give a sort of a State of the Union address. I'm really not quite sure exactly what he's doing, but that's what they're calling it. And we have this Adrienne Klotz-Floyd, who calls herself the DIT lady. Obviously, she's going to be talking a little bit about DIT. And Cheryl Ottenritter and John Aldrich and Robbie Carmen are all involved in this extraordinary film called The River and the Wall, which is going to open nationwide here in May. It's a documentary on the wall along the Rio Grande River, and if you look at its trailer, you'll see that it's pretty impressive. Kyle Ryder and Ernie Gilbert are two of the editors for Atlanta. Atlanta is a critically acclaimed TV series. Elizabeth Kaufman from Kit Split. I'm not exactly sure what she'll be doing, but she is going to be talking. And also we have the Academy Award-winning short film Skin, the producer and the editor from that. And this is the second year in a row that Final Cut Pro 10 has been used in an Academy Award-winning movie. Both short films, but still. And they're going to be talking about that particular film. And then, of course, I'm going to be hosting it, and I'm going to be doing the raffle.
Nobody can do the raffle like you do the raffle.
You're damn right.
What does it cost?
It costs nothing, practically. It's $15. That's all it costs. If you're a student or a teacher, it's only $10.
Mike, one of the things I like best about Super Meets is that little mini trade show where I get to meet companies that are maybe too small for NAB. Are you having that again this year?
We are having that again next year, and there are going to be several companies in there that's really don't want to spend the money or can't spend the money to be on the show floor at the convention center. So they'll be at the Super Meet. And yeah, that's what I really like about the Super Meets too, is a lot of the companies are getting their first opportunity to show off their stuff.
And again, what's the website?
FasterTogether.com.
That's all one word. Faster, F-A-S-T-E-R, together, FasterTogether.com. And Mike Horton is the producer of Faster Together and a longtime friend. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week at NAB. I know you're heading out, Sunday or Saturday or something?
Saturday, I'll see you there.
Okay, all right, I'll give you a buzz on the Buzz Show.
Ned Soltz is a contributing editor to Red Shark News. He's also an author, editor, educator, and consultant on all things related to digital video. And best of all, He's a regular here on The Buzz. Hello, Ned. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry. Good to be back. It's been a couple of weeks now, and I guess the reviews weren't that bad. So you're having me back.
Well,
also good to hear from Michael Horton and see what he's up to these days for NAB. That sounds intriguing. It'd be a wonderful session.
It does indeed. The faster together sessions are something I'm really looking forward to seeing. And Michael's, as you know, changed the focus to focus on users. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the creative output.
Right. Yeah.
So, Ned, tonight we're previewing new technology and trends coming at NAB. So what are your thoughts?
Well, we're entering a period right now where I think it's far less radical in terms of both hardware and software introductions. We're well beyond a new camera every 6 months. We are well beyond the newest and latest, greatest in innovative software, but rather we're trying to get everything to work together right now. I think that's about the best way to put it. A combination of workflow, a combination of improvements, and under-the-hood types of improvements as well. Adobe is a good example of that. Adobe yesterday just released its latest Creative Cloud for video updates. And while there's nothing there that is absolutely revolutionary, earth-shaking, there are a couple of wonderful features and improvements, again, under the hood in terms of speed, and particularly in After Effects. The greatest one of these, by the way, is content-aware fill, like we have in Photoshop. That's in After Effects right now, so you can remove objects just in video, just like you can remove objects in Photoshop. It's an example of, I think, a mature product of Creative Cloud for video, just seeing enhancements and improvements in speed, which is good. We really don't need our necks into another whiplash situation, of too much and so much new. I dare say we'll be seeing something from Blackmagic Design.
Okay, well, hold it. Take a breath. I was reflecting, looking over all the materials that Adobe supplied with their release. The one thing they stressed, especially with Premiere, is how much of their time was spent on improving performance and improving stability, which is, I think, a wise decision to make the stuff that you've got work as opposed to keep throwing in new features.
Exactly. And the new features that are there are useful too. So there's some improvements in titling. There's better interactivity between the various components of Creative Cloud. But it's wise.
Before you move on to Blackmagic, because you were just starting to talk about that, one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot in the last several years is the constant churn in new codecs as new cameras come out. It seemed to me that this whole new codec release has slowed down a lot. Would you agree?
I would agree. I mean, we've had two new codecs in Blackmagic Raw last year and in ProRes Raw with Atomos. And I think there are newest codecs that we've seen. And, I think that Atomos users with Final Cut Pro are taking advantage of that new codec. And Blackmagic users certainly have that opportunity for ProRes RAW or Blackmagic RAW. Blackmagic is, in fact, cutting Cinema DNG out of certain of its cameras in favor of its Blackmagic RAW. But that's really it. I don't see any new codecs or formats coming up this year. Now we could always be surprised, but I don't see anything. And also the other trend this year is that so many products, updates, improvements, and the like have been announced prior to NAB. It's almost as if things can just get lost in the noise if you have so many product introductions over a several-day period at the trade show. Manufacturers want to at least get their 15 minutes of glory by being separated by a day or so, at least, from what other vendors are going to be introducing.
Well, you started to talk about Blackmagic coming up with new stuff. What's your thought on that company?
I dare say we're going to see a new Resolve. I mean, I don't have any insider information, because if I had insider information, I couldn't speculate about it. But I am guessing that if they hold true to form, whether it will be a Resolve 16 or whether it will be just a dot release to the current Resolve, we always have been accustomed to seeing that at NAB. They may pull some surprises on it too, because again, prior to NAB, they introduced a new version of the Ursa Mini Pro with off-speed recording, and then something they just kind of snuck in under the wire is an update in Blackmagic Desktop Video, which is version 11.1, which runs all of their video capture cards. That's now enabling HDR out of HDMI on a Decklink 4K Extreme 12G, which is a card I happen to have. And so this really becomes an advance in the ability to use HDMI monitors with this card for HDR monitoring, because prior to this it was only SDI. So you'd either need an SDI monitor or you would need a $500 Teranex SDI to HDMI mini converter. So that's a little thing they sort of slipped in between the cracks, which tells me they probably have something a little bigger coming up at NAB, and didn't want to dilute its impact. Again, pure speculation. And guess what? We're going to know all about that Monday morning when they announce, and we may even know about it on Sunday, because that's when all the banners start going on the convention center. So we very well may be standing out in front of the convention center watching the sign folks put banners up.
I can see the sign now. Blackmagic buys NAB. It would be a show-stopping announcement.
That would be show-stopping. And I mean, who knows? They may have another acquisition in the works. They've been very wise in terms of abilities for acquisitions. And by the way, and speaking of acquisitions, something that was a great surprise was VisArt acquiring NewTek.
Yeah, very surprising here. James mentioned it as part of the news, and I'm looking forward to going to both booths on Monday to learn more.
I am too, and I know from a little press event that that NewTek had for us, they are thrilled, not just so much for the cash that they're going to be realizing, the principals are going to be realizing, but more than that, the R&D development with VisArt behind them, because NewTek, certainly with its NDI connectivity, really is kind of in the forefront of moving to video IP. And it's not just big broadcast installations. I mean, even smaller shops, smaller outfits can be utilizing video over IP. And NewTek's a leader in that. So I think that's an acquisition that will be, I think, a great advance. What I'm looking for from JVC will be some introductions of more connected cameras. That's really been their strong suit over the last few years. So if not new cameras, certainly enhanced connectivity and streaming and wireless capabilities from JVC. That's another one that I'll throw into the mix.
JVC's done a really nice job of carving out the mid-range of the market. They don't try to play at the extreme high end, but they've got really affordable, very nice cameras that are mid-range.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They have an educational market. They have a religious market. They have an ENG market, and they know how to produce products for that market. They know that they are the small guys on the block, and they don't try to overreach. Yep. Which guarantees them success.
Or at least
they know what they can do, and they do it very well.
Very true. Ned, for people that want more information about what you're seeing at NAB, where can they go to follow your writing and thoughts?
RedSharkNews.com. I'll be posting throughout NAB, usually playing at the show all day, and then going back to my hotel room and feverishly writing all night just to get up again and repeat the whole process. So check out RedSharkNews.com, and they'll all be there.
And Ned Soltz is a contributing editor for Red Shark News. That website is all one word, RedSharkNews.com. And Ned, travel safely to NAB, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week as well. Looking forward to it.
Take care. Bye-bye. Philip Hodgetts is recognized as a leading technologist as well as the CEO of Lumberjack System. Even better, he's a regular here on The Buzz, where he specializes in explaining new technology. Hello, Philip. Welcome back.
Thank you, Larry.
Philip, tonight we're looking at new technology or trends that we might expect at NAB. Now, we just heard from Ned Soltz about what he expects in production technology. What are your thoughts?
I guess some of mine overlap a little bit with production. The 4 topics that I see as being quite hot at NAB 2019 are 8K production, the cloud, machine learning, and video over IP. I think these are 4 evolving technologies that should at least be watched because many of them will change the way we work.
Well, let's start with 8K, which I am really skeptical about. I'm trying to be polite here. We can't even see 4K on a monitor. Why are we paying attention to 8K?
I know. We upgraded to a 55-inch 4K TV HDR, and at the distance that we view that TV set, we can get all the benefit of 720p. So we're not getting even close to being able to maximize the benefit of 4K, let alone even standard HD. The thing about oversampling at the source, though, is if you can do 4K for much the same cost as HD, then I would always say do 4K, simply because the HD that you have will look better because it's been started at a higher resolution. I know this in pure basic science doesn't really make sense because you're still reducing it down to the actual pixel count of the delivery mechanism, but I have watched this happen over many, many years, that oversampling at the source does carry a benefit throughout the entire production chain. That said, I remain as skeptical about 8K as I really do about 4K outside of production. I can see some benefits, and I have certainly used 4K for 1080 production to have that zoom and framing space. And so 8K for 4K post is probably a thing that's going to happen.
Can you imagine how big those files are going to be? We're going to have to redefine terms that define storage.
Well, yes. I mean, it's the panel manufacturers that are driving this, but it's also, they must be in cahoots with the storage folks because they are working together to increase the amount of storage we need.
4K is 4 times bigger than HD, and 8K is 4 times bigger than 4K. The mind boggles at how many terabytes of data a simple commercial is going to create.
Yep, let alone a 16-part drama series.
Shot multicam, of course.
Of course, shot multicam.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, we'll talk about heads in the cloud.
Well, that's your number 2 issue. Tell me about the cloud.
Important to say that there is no cloud. The cloud is simply somebody else's computer that you're accessing remotely. I think an important thing to keep in mind, because it's not this mythical thing. You know, if you are connecting to a cloud service, you're connecting to somebody else's computer. Not to say that that's a bad thing. And certainly the trends are towards, collaborating through the cloud. Avid have technologies for working remotely. Adobe have experimented with that and not incredibly successful, stayed more in-house. Of course, Bebop are pushing that sort of in the cloud workflow. It's going to come. It absolutely is going to come. I think, at the moment, the one fatal flaw or the tragic flaw in it is that the upload of the original media is a challenge. But there are ways of working around that, and bandwidth will increase exponentially over the next couple of years. Apparently, file sizes are going to increase exponentially as well, so maybe that won't work. But the one area where the cloud is in common use right now is for review and approval. I mean, Frame.io are getting all of the publicity, but there are Webster and a whole bunch of other people who are doing in the cloud review and approval. And for those people who need that, I think that's a very useful service. I'm a loner. I don't collaborate that often, but when I do collaborate, I wish I had a service like that to use, but it's, my use is so infrequent and unnecessary that I don't subscribe to a service. Even though I have a Frame.io account, I don't use it very much.
There's a couple of issues here. One is the cloud is much bigger than just simply editing our media. If we look at pre-production, if we look at scripting, if we look at collaboration before we start production, even collaboration on storyboards, as well as post-production for review and approval, the cloud permeates all of production, but you and I both look at the cloud through the eyes of editing, and that I think is leading into its weakness, not its strength. Would you agree?
I agree completely, and I thank you for pointing that out, because yes, there is a lot that we can get from collaboration, and I've only fairly recently moved to things like collaborative workflows on books, and it's really valuable because you don't have to have that face-to-face time with the other person. You can work on things, you can update things. Everybody is up to date at the same time, and that's a big benefit.
I want to talk about what you're planning for Lumberjack, but before I do, your third category is machine learning. What are you thinking about here?
I'm thinking that we'll start to see a lot of uses of machine learning that are not obvious uses of machine learning. Well, we've talked a little bit about this before. The machine learning is making our lives richer in many ways that we don't even understand. Adobe's Premiere Rush is using machine learning to automatically duck music under dialogue. That's not sort of the headline artificial intelligence cuts of trailer sort of mindset. It's much more useful, better color matching, better organization, better metadata. These are all areas where we'll see machine learning start to pop up in production workflows without them being obviously machine learning.
Your fourth category is video over IP. Before you describe what you expect to see from it, first tell me what that means.
We started moving video around over composite cables, and then we moved to component cables, then we moved to digital cables. SDI has been the distribution methodology for the last 10, 15 years through various mechanisms of multiple SDI bondings to get the higher resolutions, etc. What video over IP does is it takes those SDI streams and effectively turns them into an IP data stream. In other words, the same infrastructure that runs the internet, runs most corporations that we have around our home, is the same infrastructure that we will use to distribute video, amongst our post-production work groups. We've been doing this with Ethernet connected storage for a while, shared collaborative storage like Jellyfish and LumaForge make, among many others. This is effectively video over IP, is moving those streams of data over IP. Where it differs from shared storage is that you can actually send video point to point over an IP network as a stream of video, not as a data file. And you can also pick up streams into a switcher from there, and that's what's driving the purchase that Vert's announced this week that they have purchased NewTek, mostly for their video over IP technology, which complements Vert's own technology.
So what video over IP announcements are you expecting at NAB, or technology, I should say?
I think just more support, more vendors will support video IP and more interoperability. The NewTek format is the one that's most common, even though it's not actually the standard. So there's people supporting having to support multiple standards in order to bring this into reality. And I think we'll see that settling down into sort of the common connectivity that we get, say, from SDI.
I would be remiss if I wasn't asking about your own company. What is Lumberjack System doing at NAB this year?
This year we'll be doing a number of things. We're starting NAB on Sunday night at the Content Creators Celebration. It's a party celebrating content creation and those who do it. And like good party goers, we're going to bring LED little party lights and glow sticks. And so come find the buffalo plaid table and grab your party favors. We will be showing a little loop on a screen about what we do. But really, a party is about a party. And that's what we're going to be doing on Monday night as well, as that's the content create. That's used to be called the Final Cut Pro 10 Guru Gathering. This year it's the LumaForge Faster Together Party. So same party and same party favors. Again, it's time to have a party, not to be too serious. The work part about it is during the day, and we'll be on Central Hall booth 2952. That's the OWC radio booth. We're sharing that with those folk. And that's where you can come and see the next generation of video editing, which is the text-driven video editing. If you work with transcripts, if you've ever thought about working with transcripts, you need to come and see Lumberjack Builder in action, either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Central Hall C2952, or come to the Faster Together party on Tuesday night, where we will be attempting to interview people, logging it in real time, passing it through a lumberyard station to bring those keywords into Final Cut Pro 10, passing the file across to the third station where it will be sent out for transcription and brought into Builder and started to integrate into our stories about the Faster Together stage. If we can pull it off.
Some very, very cool stuff. Philip, for people who want to keep track of your company and your thinking, where can they go on the web?
lumberjacksystem.com or philiphodgetts.com.
Those websites are all one word, Lumberjack System, singular, lumberjacksystem.com and philiphodgetts.com. And the Philip Hodgetts himself is the voice you've been listening to, CEO of Lumberjack System. And Philip, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, and I'll see you at NAB.
I look forward to it. Here's another website I want to introduce you to, doddleNEWS.com. DoddleNEWS gives you a portal into the broadcast, video, and film industries. It's a leading online resource presenting news, reviews, and products for the film and video industry. doddleNEWS also offers a resource guide and crew management platform specifically designed for production. These digital call sheets, along with their app, directory, and premium listings, provide in-depth organizational tools for busy production professionals. doddleNEWS is a part of the Thalo Arts community, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with resources you need to succeed. Whether you want the latest industry news, need to network with other creative professionals, or require state-of-the-art online tools to manage your next project, there's only one place to go, doddleNEWS.com. As Director of Business Development for Bebop, Michael Kammes leverages his experience with creative technology and tools providers to accelerate growth and provide strategic perspective across marketing, sales, and partnership. But even better than that, he's a frequent and welcome contributor to The Buzz. Hello, Michael. Welcome back.
Hello, Larry. Good to hear your voice again.
Michael, you heard earlier what Philip Hodgetts expects at NAB this year. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree a lot with what Philip said, especially regarding machine learning and cloud and video IP. So I was trying to find something that was a little bit different. And I thought maybe one of the things I could talk about was how NAB has kind of changed. How does that sound?
I think that's a good place to start. Go ahead.
Great. We've heard a lot of companies that are now announcing their technologies and their announcements prior to NAB starting. And I think that's a trend that, some of the big players like Blackmagic picked up, and now other companies are following suit behind that and doing these pre-announcements as a way to, get out from the white noise. And I think that's led to a lot of people thinking that, well, is NAB even needed anymore? Or should it merge with CES? And I wanted to kind of let everyone know that it's still a massive networking event. It's still massive in terms of like-minded people who are into technology, and the amount of sales and business that's done on the floor with captains of the industry and the folks who you're working with on a business level can't be denied. So I guess that's something you can't overlook about NAB.
No, but another thought, Michael, just occurred to me as I was listening to you, and that is if I do a pre-announcement before NAB and it catches the eye of somebody who says, hey, I never heard of that company, but I like this product, it incents them to come see that product at the booth. Whereas if you announce everything the first day of the show, we've already planned where we're going to go, and a lot of people may not show up because they didn't hear about it in time.
I think you're completely right. I think there's one augment to that, and that's if they're already going to the show and they hear about an announcement, they're more apt to stop by your booth. If there's one thing that you'll run into a lot of at NAB is a lot of booths are very similar, and a lot of them have very poor marketing or messaging. And I've been in the business for a while, and there's still booths that I walk up to and I say, I don't know what you do. If I don't know what you do in the first 5 seconds just by your messaging, something's wrong.
I do that to every booth because, there's a point where I just can't remember. There's just too much stuff.
Am I talking to Michael Horton or Larry Jordan?
I learned from Michael. What's your thought on the VizRT and the NewTek merger?
I absolutely love it. I think there are quite a few companies that are still in the hardware mode where, we can sell servers and we can sell heavy iron. And the companies that are really innovating are saying, look, we're going to take a software approach and we'll use commodity hardware, stuff that you can easily procure. And I think New Tech was certainly making money selling their switchers and whatnot, but obviously the future of the company was NDI. I mean, that's something that Dr. Andrew Cross and everyone else at New Tech has been evangelizing for the past 4 or 5 years. And I think when you get VizRT and their stance or their stature in the industry, I think it gives extra credibility to what some may think is consumer-grade technology of New Tech. I think it gives credibility that it's not consumer-grade and that that's the future, and that by putting the minds at New Tech with the minds at VizRT and giving the big hardware guys a run for their money, I think is fantastic.
I'll remind Ned that it's not consumer-grade stuff. Another thing you were writing about recently is the trend that you're seeing toward open standards away from proprietary technology. What do you mean by that?
Well, for years, since the dawn of motion or media creation technology, there's always standards, and there's a reason for standards, right? So everyone can have a like experience. But I think that's being peeled away. I mean, if we go back to what I just talked about with New Tech and NDI, the SMPTE standard that was ratified for video over IP a few years ago, it's uncompressed video, for lack of a better term. And that's not something that most consumers or prosumers are going to be able to deal with. And it's not something that a lot of facilities are going to transition to because of the expense. But utilizing NDI, which gives you better than broadcast quality over consumer gear, is fantastic. And the fact that that is not a standard in the traditional SMPTE sense is fantastic.
Well, I want to talk about Bebop, but before I do, there was one other thing that you and I were chatting about before this segment started, and that's a shift that you're seeing from network-attached storage to storage attached to the network, from NAS to SAN. What do you mean?
Well, when we first started editing video on shared storage inside your facility around 2000, maybe a little bit after that, it was all SAN-based or storage area network. And SANs have always been the most reliable in terms of throughput, in terms of quality of service. They've just been rock solid. But there was always a price point attached to that, and the protocols they used were proprietary. One shared storage system didn't work exactly the same way as another shared storage system, another SAN. And over the past several years, we've seen NASs, which were traditionally used for basic IT work and moving Word documents around, now being built on these faster faster Ethernet connections like 10 gig and 25 gig and 40 gig. And we're seeing a lot of shared storage manufacturers manufacture NASs because they don't have to have any special protocol. It uses what's built into the computer. And we're seeing a lot more of these solutions being pushed out there and actually being used for video as opposed to being a distant second poor cousin of SAN.
Which also decreases the price, expands the market, and makes it more accessible to everybody.
Completely, yeah.
Well, thinking of access, that reminds me of Bebop and you guys living in the cloud. What are you announcing at NAB? And if you can, share all the secrets today.
Yeah, Bebop does not have a booth this year because we've been invited into so many other booths. We're going to have a presence in the Microsoft booth, the Google booth, the Amazon booth. I'll be talking at the Frame.io booth. So we're all over the place doing demos. There's one potential big announcement, but I am forbidden to say anything and even hint to
Michael. It's just you and me. Nobody else is listening.
I want to, but I can't. But, it was brought up earlier in the show about cloud computing and cloud editing, and that's certainly what Bebop does. And we'll be doing demos on the show floor about how it's pretty inexpensive to get started editing with your video in the cloud using your favorite Windows editor.
Well, I'm interested to hear the announcement and also interested to see a demo of Bebop because I've talked to you and I've talked to some of the executives at the company and I've got a picture in my head, but I have not actually seen it work. So I'm looking forward to stopping by one of your booths and taking a look at it in operation.
In fact, I'll even do a private demo for you, Larry.
You are just amazing, truly amazing. Before we run out of time, what other thoughts come to mind thinking about NAB coming on Monday?
Well, Avid is going to have a massive announcement. It'll be a huge, polarizing announcement, and that's all I can say. That's going to be very interesting. I'm really interested to hear what the community thinks when that comes out. Obviously, the Adobe announcements were fantastic. We'll see if Resolve does get version 16, although they just released an update today. What else? I'm also interested to see monitors. I'm interested to see where the cost is for 4K HDR monitors. Sony has always been the gold standard, but $30,000 for a monitor is not within the realm of reason for most people. So I'm interested to see what else is going to be there this year.
I sure hope it comes down from $30,000 because it's a choice between buying the helicopter and buying a Sony monitor. And boy, that's a hard one. I'm wrestling with that one.
You just have to put off that in-ground pool you're planning in your backyard until next year, Larry.
A very expensive koi, truly. Well, Michael, listen, we look forward to hearing more about what your thoughts are for people that want to follow your writing and follow your thinking. First, where can they go for Bebop and where can they go for you?
BebopTechnology.com, and then you can also check out MichaelKammes.com.
That website for Bebop is all one word, B-E-B-O-P, Bebop Technology, BebopTechnology.com. And Michael Kammes is being modest because he's also got a series on the web that's worth mentioning. Michael, what's that?
That's 5thingsseries.com.
So michaelkammes.com and the number 5thingsseries.com. And Michael is the voice you've been listening to. Michael, thanks for joining us today. Have a safe trip, and I'll see you in Las Vegas.
Indeed you will, Larry. Thank you.
Bye-bye. I was just thinking, one of the reasons I enjoy walking the halls of NAB is discovering what I don't know. It's easy visiting the companies you know about. It's like meeting old friends and catching up on the latest news. But it's the companies I haven't heard about or heard their name without understanding what they do that are the most interesting. For example, VizRT is a company that I've heard about for years, but I couldn't pass a test on what they do. Now that they've acquired new tech, I need to find out more. And that's just one example of a long-established company that is focused on a different part of the market than the one that I cover. Then there are smaller companies. Smaller companies often are the lifeblood of innovation, coming up with great new ideas in hopes of either growing or being acquired and adding their technology to how we create media today. This is one of our goals in inviting companies to join us for our NAB Show coverage on The Buzz. There are more than 1,700 exhibitors at NAB, and we're talking with 108 of them, which means we need to select who to invite based upon their relevance to independent filmmakers or their reputation in the industry or because they're new and deserve a larger audience. Our goal is to balance all three of these in the guests that we invite. You can see our entire guest list at nabshowbuzz.com, and I invite you to join us starting Monday morning, April 11th at 11 a.m. You can stream the show live from nabshowbuzz.com or listen later via iTunes or the digital production website or nabshowbuzz.com. Or even better, stop by our booth and say hello. We're in South Lower Hall, booth 10527. I'd love to say hi. And I'll talk to you again on Monday. Just something I'm thinking about. I want to thank our guests this week. Mike Horton, producer of Faster Together, Ned Soltz with Red Shark News, Philip Hodgetts with Lumberjack System, Michael Kammes with Bebop Technology, and James DeRuvo with doddleNEWS.com. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner, with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to the Digital Production Buzz. The Digital Production Buzz is copyright 2019 by Thalo LLC.